Shalom everybody, it's Kalila Kelly, your Irish Stew. Apparently not all Australians are completely devoid of emotional integrity. We like to call these people the righteous, and it seems that there are some righteous people still on the good side of history. And the Jewish community alone and scared amid surge in anti-Israel demonstrations, according to Sky News. Jewish advocate Marnie Perlstein reacts to the outpouring in support for the Jewish community amid the anti-Semitism crisis in Australia. I suppose it is a crisis. Like just the other day, I saw a boy taunting a girl, saying shalom, like running up to her and having a go at her, mimicking and mocking the Hebrew phrase of shalom, which means peace, right? And she was really upset, and she said, "It ain't bothering me, it doesn't bother me, piss off." And he laughed and ran off, and then looked quite guilty when I glared at him. And then a friend of mine just the other night after Shabbat dinner was literally just outside minding his own business in the street with another Jewish man, and they were just talking about Judaism, and some random dude heard them, came up to them and punched one of the guys in the face, and then they had a fight. And then he scarpered off and the police were notified, and literally just hearing about Jews set him off like a freaking tick. So that's the state of Australia at the moment. And so the police are investigating the Sydney Harbour Bridge protests. It's such a disgusting shame that such an iconic and beautiful building made of steel and strength and fortitude that is the site of so many cars and trains and trams and whatnot going back and forth. I don't know if it has trams, whatever, you get the point. But the Sydney Harbour Bridge is a classic, iconic image of modern Australia, and it was covered and swarmed by people who were giving death chants and waving terrorist flags and displaying Hamas and Nazi symbols. And Mrs. Perlstein said that, I'm not going to lie that our community has felt so alone and really scared, and I absolutely testify to that, particularly on October 7 and afterwards. It was like you were just completely alone, and the mainstream society around you just didn't pause or didn't really get or understand what it felt like to witness people in your community, in your diaspora, in your tribe being massacred in such brutal ways, and then to have echoing anti-Semitism flying out from that across the world. So there were kind of two hits to the psyche, if you like. There was the hit of the actual terrorist attacks, and then there was the second hit when the anti-Semitism sprung up around the diaspora countries, across the West, not really the Middle East so much because there aren't any Jews left there. They've been ethnically cleansed from the region due to Arab and Islamic imperialism, which apparently we're never allowed to talk about, and yet it's true, you see. So, a lot of Australians, though, are not putting up with this shit, and they know that it's wrong, and there are good people who remember the lessons of history, who know the Holocaust, who know the price of punishing people for their religion. And it's just so appalling and grotesque that a beautiful bridge that is used by everybody, regardless of faith or religion, is used for these most grotesque and nefarious of people. And then Australia's response, the response of the politicians is then to pander to the terrorists, pander to the Islamists, pander and give in to the pressure of seeing these starving children, when they've literally just told us, the UN, who's not exactly, kosher, even the UN, which is completely pro-Hamas, is like, oh yeah, whoops, yeah, no, actually, it was armed militants and Hamas taking all the food that Israel allowed into the country in the middle of a war, by the way. I have to keep repeating that because it just seems to go over the head of most people. I mean, it's just so grotesque and so ridiculous. And I think the Labour Party in Australia is completely on the wrong side of history on this. And they're beholden to this because the Islamism and the Greenism or the Socialism alliance is alive and well, as we've just seen with the election or near election of Zoran Mamdani in New York City. You know, this is the moral failing of the West. And then they say things like, well, you know, everyone agrees with us and it's only Israel going it alone. And therefore, because all of us have been hoodwinked by this bullshit Hamas propaganda and the never-ending lies, because we've been fooled by that, we demand that Israel is fooled by that too and stops. But what I would say to these people, with all due respect to my enemies, is you just don't get it. Your ignorance shows through every time you say things like that. Because Jews were told by God himself from day one, you will never be in the majority, no matter what country you're in, no matter how powerful you get, you will never be a strong and mighty state in the same way that other nations will be. But you will have extraordinary influence and effect on the world, and you are supposed to be a moral light unto the nations, and that's exactly what Israel is. It is the West that is falling into disarray. It is the Middle East that is a complete shit show. Absolute muck-up, mess. Not every country, but the majority. Absolute bullshit. Can't run a country to save their life. The corruption, the nepotism, the violence, the lack of human freedom and dignity. Piss off. Piss off. And yet you look at yourself and you say that you are on the right side of history. And I'm telling you, you're freaking wrong. And you'll be wrong about this. And even if Israel was the only country in the world who felt the way it did, even if I was the only Jew in the world that felt the way I do, I would still maintain that. I don't give a crap, my dear lovely haters, with all your stupidity. And you are stupid. I'm sorry. You just freaking are. I don't give a crap that you seem to outnumber me or my people, that you're so brave and bullshit, and there's so many of you in it. There's so many of you, and yet you're so deeply inept, and there's so few of us, and yet we keep on winning over and over and over again throughout history. Where are the Romans? Where are the Romans? Where are the Babylonians? Where are the Assyrians? Where are the Ottomans, by the way? And where's the British Empire? They've all gone. They've all disappeared into history. Where are the Jews? Right here. Where is Israel? Flourishing. You are on the wrong side of history, and you will keep losing, as you have always lost in the past. And it is in Palestinians or Palestinians or whatever the hell you want to call them, with all due respect. And I do respect people. I don't think anyone should be hated, per se. With all due respect to you, you're just not going to win this one. And you haven't won this one. And you keep trying to win it, and you keep trying to destroy the Jews, and you keep losing. And you'd think that after 70 years of this rubbish, 100 years of this nonsense, this anti-Semitic bullshit, you think that you'd just let it go or move on. And some places in the Middle East are, to their credit. They're reading the writing on the wall, and they're like, yeah, now let's just move on. We don't need to hold on to this Islamist wet dream of getting rid of all the Jews before peace and holiness and Islam can conquer the world. Really, it's just such a load of crap. And it's really just one religious idea against another. And the religious idea of the extremists is to kill everyone that disagrees with you and have a caliphate. And the religious idea of Judaism is for life, to live, to survive, to live, to thrive, and to be light unto the nations, and to be good and holy, and to repair the world. And it really doesn't matter how many people are against us, because we're not going anywhere, we never will. That's our destiny. This is not me saying this. This is everything about the whole Jewish scripture, the whole Jewish story, the whole Jewish tribe. It's not going anywhere. And anti-Semites come in each generation with a different flavor, with a different technique, with a different slogan, with a different ideology, and they all disappear into the winds of time. And the Jew remains, the Torah remains, the word remains. Shema Israel, listen, hear me, hear my voice. I'm your God, I'm one. Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. God is one, God is our God. And that's just how it is. So that's going to play out. So I guarantee you Israel's going to win. And Gazans, Palestinianists, and terrorists, and leftists, and the whole rot of immorality can keep banging away at its little tin drums on its protests as it takes over the Sydney Harbour Bridge and defoils and describes it with ugliness and grotesqueness and terrorist sympathies and all that crap, and you will still lose because you already have lost. That's reality. So to all my brothers and sisters out there, all of the people who are righteous, Christian or Muslim or atheist, anybody who can see the right side of the wall, God bless you, and I'll see you on the other side. Bye. Shalom.